bury, but these seas are going up. But these seas are going up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up for me. Nothing but up. But these seas are going up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up. Nothing but up for me. Nothing but up. Ground us in this work some more, because yeah, it's very important that we take the war out of our words. So excuse me for a second. Okay. So all right. So earlier in the week we had talked about from chapter 12 how we have to like walk with a non-defensive mindset and heart set when engaging in conversations that are difficult. And so yeah, I want to continue us here of a question should be. Hey, what's good, bro?
So the brother.
Yeah, in the nature of a question, it said, or Dr. Sharon Strand Ellison recommends that it's both curious, innocent, open, neutral, and inviting. And in chapter 5, she goes over the common misuses of our basic communication tools. So I'm going to share this with y'all so we can go through it together. So she says that the basic forms of communication, there are three: questions, statements, and predictions. And oftentimes she says that questions can be seen as villains in disguise. And so at a family reunion several years ago, Sylvia, her great aunt, had asked, who she had not seen for many years, she asked, "How are your daughters?" And her great aunt responded in a kind of like, "Why are you asking her this way? Like, who are you, the FBI?" And so, made almost speechless by her aunt's reaction, Sylvia mumbled something innocuous and changed the subject. And the way that her aunt took that question is because we often see questions as it's formed here in the dictionary, this definition. We usually focus on words like interrogate, ask, challenge, doubt, inquire, object, pry, probe. And so it's important that we recognize that that's how we feel, or that's how many people feel when we ask a question. And so the use of questions as tools of interrogation is so common that oftentimes when we practice asking non-defensive communications, regardless of how much training we've had, many people are still amazed that it takes some effort to refrain from using accusatory tones of voice or body language. And so Dr. Sharon, or there are two different ways that we can do this. One is by using entrapping questions, and the other way is by using questions as statements in disguise. And whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, anytime we use a question to give information rather than gather information, we violate its natural function. And so when the great aunt said, "Who are you, the FBI?" That was also a statement in the guise of a question. She was expressing her feelings of discomfort about the question. She wasn't really asking if Sylvia was in the FBI.
That's...
Yeah, and so many of it that way, rather than openly stating whatever problem we see with how he is sorting the mail, we hide our judgment behind the shield of a question. And then whatever the circumstances, the other person usually hears the criticism loud and clear, and knows that we have not had or asked for information sincerely. And so they may even accuse us of being critical, but because we hit it through a question, we can always say, "Oh, I was just wondering," and deny that we were criticizing. So some of the examples she says about questions that are like villains in disguise. What did you do that for? Underlying message of, "I am irritated." Do you want to go to a movie tonight? Underlying message of, "I would like to go to a movie." The question of,
right.
Since when do you care about what he thinks anyway? Has an underlying message of, "I don't want to deal with your feelings of anxiety." Yeah. Okay, so there are three basic ways of turning a question into a statement: our tone of voice, our body language, and the words that we add. And so going down the page, we see that voice tones that make a question defensive by sounding harsh or accusatory, accenting key words like, "What did you do?" Like, "Why did you do that?" Sounding sing-songy or overly melodic in tone. Excuse me. Speaking rapidly or clipping the words. Raising the pitch at the end of the question. And there's a list of body language that can make a question defensive. Shaking the head from side to side as if saying no.
How many people do that, fam?
Yeah, that happens. Nodding the head up and down as if saying yes.
Oh, yeah.
Shrugging the shoulders as if the question is unimportant. Pushing the head and neck forward. Oh, I get that one, I think. Condescendingly tilting the head to the right or left.
Blank stare. Yeah.
Uh, frowning intensely, squinting, opening eyes wide, raising eyebrows, or wrinkling the forehead. The master of the art.
Man, I heard that. I think that's
Body language is true.
man.